All right, folks, welcome back to the Jeff Adams Show, where we don't just talk about the news. We unpack it, shake it up, and see what kind of mess falls out. Tonight, we're diving headfirst into a story that's got everything. Billion-dollar empires, spiritual leaders, interviews gone sideways, and tragically, the story of a little girl who seems to have been forgotten in the chaos. Now, unless you've been living under a rock or too busy trying to figure out what's going on with Twitter, X, you've probably heard about the DayStar debacle. We're talking about Joni Lamb, Marcus Rogers, Jonathan and Susie, and a controversy that's been a train wreck with no brakes. But here's the thing. Underneath all the noise and power plays is a 5-year-old girl who deserves justice. Let's get into it. So, let's start with the basics. We've got allegations of abuse involving a little girl, a family member referred to as Pete, and the Lamb family, who, instead of rolling up their sleeves and getting to the truth, seem more concerned about saving their network's reputation. Now, Susie and Jonathan, the parents of the little girl, brought these allegations forward. And instead of rallying around the victim, DayStar's leadership, let's call it what it is, Joni Lamb, decided to make it about protecting Pete and DayStar. It's a classic case of turning the spotlight away from the victim and onto themselves. And they did it with tactics we've seen before, discrediting the victims, throwing legal threats around, and my personal favorite, using spiritual language to justify everything. Joni actually said, God told her Pete was innocent. That's it, folks. Case closed. Pack it up. Who needs an investigation when you've got a direct line to God, right? And then we've got Marcus Rogers. Oh, Marcus. This guy starts out as the knight in shining armor for Susie and Jonathan. He interviews them, gives them a platform, and for a moment we thought, hey, maybe someone's actually going to do right by this family. But then, cue the dramatic music. Marcus interviews Joni Lamb, and suddenly we're watching a different movie. It's like he went in as a journalist and came out as her PR guy. He apologizes to Joni Lamb, like full-on apology, and then he starts misrepresenting what Susie and Jonathan said in his first interview. He tells Joni that Susie claimed Joni said she was the reason Marcus Lamb got sick. Not true. He literally misquoted his own interview, folks. How do you do that? How do you mess up something you said on camera? I'll tell you how. It's called not being prepared. Marcus walked into that interview with Joni Lamb like a guy who forgot his sling and stones to a fight with Goliath. You're in front of $1 billion network, and you didn't even do your homework? Come on, Marcus. You're better than this, or at least we thought you were. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. A lot of people are asking, if all this happened, why didn't Jonathan and Susie leave sooner? Why stick around if their little girl was involved in something so horrific? And you know what? I asked myself the same thing. If that had been my child, I'd have packed up, grabbed the kid, and bolted faster than you can say DayStar. But let's think about this for a second. Jonathan and Susie weren't just employees. They were family. They lived in the DayStar bubble, surrounded by spiritual authority that told them, trust us, we know better. Joni Lamb said God told her Pete was innocent. Jimmy Evans backed her up, saying, we've been in ministry for 40 years. We know what we're doing. What do you do in that situation? You've got your spiritual leaders, your parents, your bosses telling you the same thing. And honestly, as parents, you want to believe it. You don't want to think someone in your family could do something so vile, so you stay, you try to trust the system, and you hope against hope that your gut feeling is wrong. But when the truth didn't line up, when the system started failing their daughter, Jonathan and Susie finally did what they should have done all along. They left. And now, here we are, sorting through this mess. Here's the most frustrating part of all this. We're not talking about the little girl anymore. Joni Lamb has managed to make this about Pete's innocence, DayStar's reputation, and Susie and Jonathan's supposed deception. Let me tell you what really happened. When Jonathan walked in on Pete in that room, his daughter was unclothed. That's not a misunderstanding. That's a red flag. And let's not forget the time she saw Pete in the bathroom, fully exposed. Yet Joni dismisses it as, oh, she barely walked in. It was nothing. Really, Joni? Because Susie remembers it a little differently. And then there's the family counseling session. Joni herself said the whole family had to go to counseling after this misunderstanding. Folks, misunderstandings don't require family therapy. Misunderstandings don't make you question everything about the safety of your child. So Why are we pretending this is no big deal? Let me take it a step further. Why didn't Jonathan and Susie leave sooner? That's a question a lot of people are asking, and frankly, I'm asking it too. Why stay in an environment where your child was allegedly victimized? Why didn't they report it right away? And when they finally did leave, what was the motivation? Was it a genuine desire to expose the truth? Or was there a sense that they might gain control of DayStar by sticking around? If that's the case, if they stayed hoping to take over the network, that's just as sickening. Sticking around in a toxic environment for power while your little girl suffers is beyond comprehension. And that's what makes me sick about this whole situation. It's not about exposing someone for clicks or finger pointing for drama. At the end of the day, this isn't about Joni Marcus Rogers or DayStar's reputation. It's about a child. If everything stated about this little girl is true, that's what matters. Let me close with this. In the middle of all the spin, the legal threats, and the power plays, there's a little girl whose voice deserves to be heard. This isn't about Joni protecting her billion-dollar media empire. It's not about Marcus Rogers and whether his apology was sincere or not. And it's definitely not about Pete and his reputation. It's about a 5-year-old child, a child who deserves justice, a child who deserves to know that the adults around her will fight for her, not for their careers or their platforms. And yet, here we are, debating who said what, who wore what, and who's running DayStar. It's a tragedy, folks, plain and simple. So as you follow this story, and trust me, it's far from over, remember what's at the heart of it. A little girl who needs protection, justice, and healing. That's what matters. That's the story we should be telling. All right, that's all for today. Thanks for tuning into the Jeff Adams Show. Stay sharp, stay focused, and stay fighting for what's right. Catch you next time. Hey everyone, thanks for listening to the Jeff Adams Show. I can't tell you how much I appreciate all the love and support, especially after our big comeback 2 weeks ago. You all have been amazing. Now, if you're listening to this on YouTube, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button down below. It really, really helps us grow and get the message out to more people. And for those of you listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any other platform, maybe you're even catching this on Talk Radio, head down to the link in the description. You'll find all the ways you can support the Jeff Adams Show. Here's the deal. We're a small mom-and-pop operation with huge dreams. We're building a faith-based media company that's going to transform the world with the powerful, life-changing gospel of Jesus Christ. So, think about it. Pray about it. And if you feel led, hit that link and see how you can get involved in this mission. Thanks again for being here. Love you guys. Talk to you soon.